Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Creating Writing Warriors. I run a store on the marketplace of Teachers Pay Teachers titled Creating Writing Warriors. And so in these videos, I go through the various products that I have on my store and let you know how to use them, how to implement them in your classroom, and who they're for. So today we're going to go over my Introduction to Poetry student packet. And this product is best for 3rd through 5th grade. If you're going to use it for 3rd grade, that is probably going to be their very first experience with poetry. So I would supplement it with a couple of nursery rhymes. I would talk about the different parts of poetry prior using those nursery rhymes before you do this product. Just because all of that is new and nursery rhymes are going to be easier for them to understand than the poem that I have in here. The poem that I have in here, it is anonymous, it's part of the public domain, but it's not as familiar to them as nursery rhymes. There's no hard words in it or anything, so they should be able to read it, but it's not going to be as familiar as the nursery rhymes that they grew up with. So that would be my suggestion for 3rd grade. 4th grade, there's a lot more poetry in the 4th grade Common Core curriculum, so this probably won't be your only activity that you do with poetry, but it does hit those content standards. And then 5th grade, you're probably not going to do a whole lot of poetry in 5th grade. You absolutely can, but it's not part of the Common Core as much. So this would be a really good activity just to use to refresh your students' memory prior to testing, or if you have a short time before a break, either spring break or winter break, and you don't want to start a whole new reading unit or writing unit, this would be a good thing to do. And if you're doing a poetry unit for reading in grades 3rd through 5th, absolutely you can grab this activity so that you have writing and reading kind of coinciding together. So let's jump in. This is what the front of the Introduction to Poetry student packet looks like. There's a spot for their name, then they can keep all of this together. This activity should only take a couple days, and with 5th grade probably 2 days, 4th and 3rd maybe a day or 2 more, and you can always break it up. So if you're doing like testing and this is what they're working on when they're done with their testing, then maybe you say just do pages 1 and 2 and then read a book or something like that. So you can break it up how you want to. It should take 1 or 2 days for 5th grade, maybe a couple more for 4th or 3rd. You'll see the teacher directions that come with it. And then the first page that they will see when they open their Introduction to Poetry packet talks about the building blocks of a poem. And so it says, not all poetry looks the same. Poems can vary on the type of poem, the year the poem was written, and the reason the author wrote the poem. However, below are the things that every poem has. Every should be in quotation marks because obviously as poetry continues to develop, we may see things shift. But in general, every poem has these things. First one is title, and just talks about what the titles of the poem look like. Then there's lines, and then there's stanza. On the next page, they have to find these parts. So they have to find title, line, and stanza. So you can see I already completed that for you. And so they'll just decide, is it 1, 2, or 3? Well, it's a title, it's 1. Is this 1, 2, or 3? It's a line, it's 2. And then this whole group here is a stanza, so 3. And that is just an easy checking for understanding that you can do as a teacher. You can just look over their shoulders, see if they understand the different parts of a poem. And then they talk about rhyme scheme in the next page, on the next page. So it says, not all poems rhyme, but many poems have rhyming words included in them. When authors use rhyming words on purpose, it is called a rhyme scheme. And then we have the definition of a rhyme scheme and an example that refers back to the poem that was just used. And so then on the bottom, you can see the rhyme scheme listed using a stanza from that poem. Once there was a little boy with curly hair and pleasant eye, a boy who always told the truth and never told a lie. So you can see the ABCB rhyme scheme there. And then on the next page, they get to find their own rhyme scheme using Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So there is a little bit of a nursery rhyme component that will help the 3rd graders. It says, did you know Twinkle Twinkle Little Star was actually a poem before it was changed into a nursery rhyme? Jane Taylor wrote it in the early 1900s. Read the poem below and label the rhyme scheme in the lines placed in the box to the right of the poem. Again, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is old enough that it is part of the public domain, so that's why it was included. And so they go through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and they write the rhyme scheme to the right of it. And so if they do it correctly, you should see AABB, CCDD, EEFF, GGBB, it refers back to the first stanza, and then EEAA, again referring back to the first stanza. Then the next 3 pages are opportunities for them to write their own poem with a designated rhyme scheme. So they're given this rhyme scheme to the right, and then they get to write a poem using that rhyme scheme. There are 3 different variations of this. So there's Show What You Know 2, and Show What You Know 3, at varying levels of difficulty. So you get to differentiate for your students, or you can say try all 3, depending on where your class is. So the first one is just AABB, CCDD. It's a little bit simpler. That might be good for 3rd grade or for 4th grade at the beginning of the school year. Then Show What You Know 2. The rhyme scheme is ABBA, CDDC. So it's a little more challenging. And then part 3 is ABAB, CDCD. So again, you can choose as a teacher if you want all of your students to try all 3, if you want to have them pick one, if you want to only provide the first one for your students, you get to choose. And you can see my example here with Hot Chocolate Hugs. The poem I came up with was Hot chocolate in my cup, how quickly do I slurp you up? On top are marshmallows sweet and white, they make my day 3 times as bright. So if your skies are gray and sad and you feel everything's gone bad, I'll warm you up with a great big hug and put hot chocolate in your mug. So there's just an example that would work for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And that is the end of the packet. So pretty quick, pretty simple, gives them the information they need to create their own poem, and then they get the opportunity to create 1, 2, or 3 poems depending on your decision. Again, best time of the year to do this would be if you have a poetry unit in reading, and so you want to have the writing curriculum match the reading curriculum, or if you have a couple weeks in between units, so maybe right before a break or right before testing or during testing, you can use this as kind of a filler for writing instruction. I will leave the link below to the actual product, and then below that I will leave a link to my store. If you like what you see but maybe you're looking for something a little bit different, you can take a stroll through my store and see if anything else works for you, and then I will put a link at the very bottom with my YouTube channel link so you can like, follow, comment, all that good stuff. If you use this in your classroom, feel free to reach out to me, tell me how it went, any suggestions for improvement, anything you liked, and just generally how it went, and I will see you the next time we talk.